Hey everyone, it's your host Marcus Norman of the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today I have come into the stage an incredible lady, Miss Pav. She is a financial resilience expert who has walked away, get this, from her 300K plus a year job at the age of 43. But she doesn't look it. And she has retired early and lives on her own terms. She's living the life. If you guys check out her social media handles, including her TikTok, she is traveling beautifully and living her best life. She is also, again, this lady with a top MBA in finance and marketing and 23 years of marketing experience, she now teaches and gives back and help you, me, and everybody in between and high achievers to lay off proof their life and build true financial freedom through her layoff ready course that she teaches. And she's here on the Gentleman Style Podcast stage here today to help us give back and learn from her wisdom. So help me welcome to the stage the incredible Miss Pav. How are you, Miss Pav? How you doing?
Hi, Marcus. Nice to meet you. It's been an honor to be here. I'm great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm excited today to have such a superstar on the podcast to talk about something that most people don't feel is possible anymore, right? They don't think that I can't leave my high paying job. And I don't know if this was true for you, but for me, Pav, I was told it, right? You're supposed to go up, get a high college degree, get the marriage, get the dog, get the picket fence, get the beautiful house, and stay at the corporate job for 30, 40 years, and then you retire and you live happily ever after. Was that toted to you as well? Or that's what's toted to most people, and I feel like.
Of course, Marcus. I think you hit the nail on the head. We were told all these lies that success means more money, success means that you climb the corporate ladder, means the title, the big titles and everything. And I'll tell you this, like I've had it all, and then I lost some of it. And now I feel that, since I walk away from my corporate life, I feel freer than ever. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so I think, like, the notions about like success and money is very subjective, and we've been told just one side of things. That there are lots of things to unpack here. So I'm so excited to to join you in this conversation.
Absolutely. I need your help debunking a myth, right? One of the biggest, what's a big lie that I think they tell professionals and help them believe that job security is still a thing is that, your employer will take care of you. How do you feel about that statement? Do you feel um, that your employer is still a safe place to work 30, 40 plus years? And I know that's contradictory to what you teach and what you've done, but what was a big lie to you that they told it in corporate America?
Mm. So I do agree with you about like the lies that they talk about, like, okay, the loyalty will, like in the past we used to have pension, right? But right now we have 401k, which is another form of a trap. Even though, yes, we get like some tax benefits, but you have to wait until what, like 60s, 59 and a half to be able to take that money out. So I would say, like, right now, like 401k is one of the biggest lies that we've been told, that when you have 401k, this is like the way that you can retire. But in fact, you can retire much earlier and significantly cheaper, I would say. So that's one thing. But another thing that I've seen a lot of people are going through is, I call it lifestyle inflation.
Mm.
So yes, so have you heard about that, Marcus?
No, please educate me. Please help me.
Okay, so lifestyle inflation is something like, say, for example, okay, you make $100,000 a year, then okay, great, you can afford milk and you can afford organic something, and then okay, you get a raise, and then you like level up to, like, say 200k a year, 300k a year, and then you starting to like live a better life. You can like buy $1 million a home. You can buy like brand name cars and like all these like luxury bags that obviously we all don't need. So let me tell you this story. So I got a friend, and he worked in like banking actually, making like seven figure a year.
Mm,
So I actually just met him maybe like a few months ago, and then we were just talking about like things around like layoff ready, and how the economy and everything is kind of like shaping up these days. And when we were on the on the topic of like, okay, like how much do you have invest in the market, how much saving you have in the market, or how much savings you have, he's like, no, why do I need a saving when like make like seven six figure a year?
he had no savings. He had no money saved away and invested.
I mean, I wouldn't say like no saving at all, but yes, he has like some money, but in the market invested, right? But my point is that when we were talking about this subject, he was like, I made so much money that like, why do I need to think about like the retirement plan now? Why do I need to? Yes, he got like 401ks and all that, but like no, like say emergency fund, for example, like say, and when I talk about emergency fund, typically we talk about like 6 to 12 months worth of your monthly expenses that
Right.
can help cover you, right? And he's like, yeah, I don't really need that money. And the more he makes the money, he went on to buy like multiple like houses, and then you incur debt.
Right.
So this is like kind of like part of the lifestyle inflation, that the more you make, the more debt you incur, and then the more stuck you are, in your job in corporate, because it's a cycle that is never ended.
Absolutely. So thank you for educating me on that. That makes perfect sense. So you're saying the lifestyle catches up and matches how much you make. There's no wiggle room, right? You're constantly your cost of goods and living, the fancy car, the fancy house, the picket fence, the bigger car, the second car, the third car. All those things keep up with your money instead of having that cushion where you can save, or you can have a rainy day fund, or God forbid your employer terminates you unexpectedly. You have
Exactly.
no gap. There's nothing, because you lived exactly the way you earned money. And so that's huge. What was some things, did you have to make any sacrifices? What were some things that you had to give up when you left your corporate job and you left the 300,000? Did you have to do anything drastic or extreme, or give up any houses or real estate or cars or anything? Or were you able to have a savings that you could sustain, or what? What do you see?
Yeah, so I have made a series of sacrifice actually, Marcus. So basically the first thing, like when I was thinking about, okay, like it's time for me to quit my job, I thought about, okay, I have like this house, 3 bedroom home, beautiful in the suburb in New Jersey, that cost me like thousands of dollars a month to maintain, and also like in mortgage as well, even though I got like pretty much like all-time low mortgage, but still cost me a significant amount of money. So I decided, okay, now that I didn't have to be geo specific, in New York, New Jersey area, so I decided to sell that house. So I sold my $1 million home, and then in the past, when I was still in corporate, I would say, I bought like luxury bags, how girls are shopping every week. And
That's good. That's good.
yes. But then so I decided, okay, like now that I'm going to downsize, and let me tell you this, Marcus. So I literally downsized my expense from over $10,000 a month to now manageable about three K a month. Like
Really?
literally, yes, by moving alone, like by moving, downsizing my life, and not shopping so much for all the brand name stuff that like literally is not really doing us any good.
Yep. Woo! That's a moment right there. That's a nugget. So
Thank
I
you.
want I want to pick your brain on it. Do you think this lifestyle, the lifestyle that you teach to and you educate others to, is it only for people who make six figures a year, or is this possible for someone who's not a high achiever or a higher earner? Is this possible for someone middle class? Is this an option for anyone can do this by moving to accommodate their lifestyle? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah. So your question is that like is like the early retirement possible for like an average person, right?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, I think so. Like early retirement is possible for anyone. So that's one side about like the finance side. That you have to save, you have to invest, you have to have enough money to be able to cover your expenses. But then there's also another side on what we just talked about like lifestyle inflation, about like the living cost. If you live in certain states, like say New York, New Jersey, California, it costs a lot to
Sure.
just like breathe, I would say. Like for example, like my days when I used to live in New Jersey and I worked in New York, just to commute to work, and just be there for a day, be in the city, it already cost me like literally $100.
Woo!
Yeah, it's
Every day.
insane. It's insane. Like, yeah, almost every day that I went to the office. And I'm not even joking you, because even the train, it already costs like $20 plus, round trip. And then you talk about like, okay, for me, I am a matcha addict, and we talked about that offline before. So yeah, so like all these lattes, that you're buying daily, something small little things that like kind of bring us joy, the food costs and so on and so forth, and socializing it costs money. So yeah, like just by moving, really help significantly, save a lot of money.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that. That's a lot. $100 a day just to transition fruit to your job. Was there ever an opportunity to work virtually? I know virtually is the new thing. Working remote. Could you work remote? Would that have been cost effective? Did your employer ever offer that? And I kind of want to call out corporate America on this. This is something that I hate that one of the things that happened during COVID-19, everybody went home and worked. Not everybody, some people work from home, and then when COVID ended, corporate America pushed people to go back to work. I think we should have just stayed remote. Was there an opportunity for you to work remotely at your New Jersey, at your New York profession?
Yeah, actually, I was very fortunate that my employers are very understanding. So I would say I got like the best of both worlds. That okay, there were days that I had to go into the office. You have to do what you have to do, but then there's also days that I could just work from home. And let me tell you this. This is like a big plus. And if you have, and I know that I talk about like early retirement and financial independence, retire early, but for anyone listening, if you have a job that you can work remotely, and is not dimming your light or hurting your mental health, I would say just hold on to that for a while until you are ready to like really take the leap. But yeah, I was in a good situation in that sense that I was allowed to work from home on certain days.
Thank goodness. You had one of the good ones. One of the good ones. I wanna dig personally to what this means to you, because you have branded it all over your social media, and it means layoff proof your life. Why is this something that every professional should be thinking about, Pav? Why should everyone should be thinking about how to lay off proof their life? Can you help us and give some insight as to why we should be doing it?
Yeah, so Marcus, layoff proofing your life to me means that you are building a life that is financially and mentally resilient. Like, you don't wait for a layoff or for a life setback to happen, right? Or for you to like get old to really actually start living. Layoff proof your life is kind of like a way that you actually giving yourself an option. It's kind of like uh, how do I say that? Is having a backup income, building emergency savings and freedom funds, or like build a skill set that you can transfer, not sorry, from your job into into something else outside your 9 to 5 that can actually bring you some income and some security as well. So it's more than just, lay off proofing your career, but it's about like emotional clarity that you can walk away from any situation, not just your job, but also like even people. If somebody is in a bad relationship, a toxic marriage, you have that option. Doesn't mean that you have to, but you have the options to walk away from those situations if they no longer align with your highest good. So I think that is the very core of layoff proofing your life.
I love that. I love that. It sounds to me, and and you can tell me if I'm wrong. It sounds to me I'm hearing some emotions. There are some emotions that you may not be motivated to do this, or some uncertainty. I can see the professional listening to you, watching you, and they're scared, right? That can I do it? Can I take the leap of faith to do this and lay off proof my life and then walk away from that career? How do you stay motivated when everything feels uncertain? And what keeps you going when you're facing those setbacks in your own life? Can you speak on that and give some wisdom there?
Yeah, and thank you so much for asking me this, Marcus. And I would say this is a part of new wisdom that was just I just got that unlocked recently. I would say like maybe a few years ago, after I decided to walk away from my marriage with barely anything but my two pet rabbits, and that was my first, I would say, like real life layoff for me, that kind of prompted me to like make sure that, okay, now I'm going to be my own backup plan. I need to be my own rich man from now on. In the past, I used to be a little bit insecure, like, hey, people make mistakes, but now I felt that, okay, like I have to be my own backup plan. And I think, like, to the people, to the audience that are listening, walk with God, like that is basically my very foundation. Not until recently, like I said, like a few years ago, that I got divorced, I can confidently say now, Marcus, that I have found God. um you know like we all were talking about that.
Sorry, they couldn't help it. They couldn't. They
Thank
could.
you. Yeah, so like I used to chase certainty, in the past. It's like, okay, I need to make sure that I have like my security, and the security for me came from a man at the time. I'm gonna be the first one to admit that I used to be a gold digger. And
What?
now now I turn to
He was
God.
rich. He was a rich man.
Yes, he was a rich man.
Okay.
But the lesson on that, though, just because you married rich doesn't mean that it's your money. So like make sure that you know financial literacy, because I did not know financial literacy up until I was like, I don't know, like 38, 39 years old, right before I got divorced. When my lawyer said, oh, you need to do budgeting, in order for you to get divorced, you need to, just because they need that for the paperwork. And I had no idea. And I got an MBA in finance. And that is like so embarrassing.
So you had, so that's fair. You didn't have a budget. What would you have budgeted? Was it all was he did he give you the black card, the credit card, the debit card, and you had access to the checking account? And how do you budget that? Right? Like,
So, right. So at the time, I would say like my marriage was maybe a little bit unconventional, that like his money was his money, my money was my money. And
mhm.
then like he was responsible in, like paying like all the big expenses, like the house expense and all that, right? And then for me is, okay, I'm just like being a good wife and kind of help cook and all the stuff, but like all these costs of living adds up, and I actually paid for everything. So at the time, and subsidized by my corporate income, of course.
Of course.
So right, yeah, so at the time, like, when I first counted like those money, and I don't want to quote like the actual number because I don't even remember anymore, but we're talking about like per year, we probably, like, just from my income alone, I did not have much saving left. And at the time made like 100, at very least like 150 or almost $200,000 a year, like back then, 5 to 10 years ago.
Mhm.
So that was like my lesson number one, because and we talk about like lifestyle inflation. Just because you make the money doesn't really mean that that's the money that you get to save.
Absolutely. What would you do differently? So it sounds like budgeting. What other tips did the lawyers tell you that you could have done, should have done when he was paying for the big expenses and you were taking care of the home expenses? What else could you have done? Other because besides saving, I guess save money, what else could you have done?
So I would say, and this is the very core to layout proofing your life, and this is like what I teach to my student, or preach it, on a daily basis. Is number one, you need to know your baseline, and there are three important numbers that you need to know.
Absolutely.
One is your, and I'm sure like everybody knows, you need to know what your net worth is, and it's not like your joint net worth, but you need to also know like what exactly is like Pav or Magus as a separate entity, an LLC, a person, actually own. Like how much, what's your assets and then your liability, and that's your net worth. So that's number one. And then the second one, I call it FU number. And I know that many people have different definition of FU numbers. Typically, when you hear FU, it's like, oh, gazillion dollars, that you can just like do whatever you want. But to me, there are different level of FU. The FU that I mean is what I mentioned before, that like 6 to 12 months expenses, like monthly expenses, you are able to cover, so that you have an option to walk away from any toxic situation or anything that is no longer serving you, right? And at the time when I was married, I did not have that. I
So
did
you
not
didn't have
have.
so FU money isn't the money to that you like the matcha, the play money, right? That's FU money, right?
Uh, that could cover, but basically think of it as, okay, when you calculate all your monthly expenses, like
Mhm.
say, okay, you need $5,000 to be able to a month to be able to sustain for each month, like pay your rent, all the bills, everything, cover your food expenses and everything. So and then times between 6 to 12 months. So it's essentially is kind of like your emergency fund a little bit more, because typically when you talk to financial expert, they talk about, oh, just have like 3 months of emergency funds. But like these days, think of it this way, Marcus. So if you got laid off tomorrow, um, is the lead time to find another job 3 to 3 months? I don't think so. An average person actually spend like 6 to 12 months now to get another job. So we need to, it's more like a little bit more elaborated of the emergency fund.
Absolutely. So core number one that you teach to your students: know your individual net worth. Know what is your individual net worth. Know what assets are yours. Know what assets are theirs, and then know that number. Why is that number significant? Why is it good to know your net worth? What do I do with that number once I figure it out?
Because that is your baseline, and I
Okay.
would call that the come to Jesus moment. Because let me tell you this, a lot of us, especially when you talk to people, like I have a few clients like more on like a higher up, right? And when you ask them like, hey, what is your net worth, do you know that, and you ask them, you know that off top of your head? No, they don't. And like you need
Really?
to know.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was surprised too, but actually when I the more I think about it, it makes sense and also apply to my situation as well. Because when the higher up you are in corporate, that means that you are so good at what you do. And you are so like all your times is consumed by your corporate life. So instead of tending for your own personal stuff, you actually rely on the so-called experts like financial advisors or your accountants and all that. Like these people have to be your best friend or on your emergency dial number these days, right? But they don't really know the basic fundamental numbers, which is like if you don't know your baseline, how do you like, say for example, if you don't know how much debt you have, how would you be able to possibly get out of debt?
That's true. That's true.
Right? Or if you don't know how much money that you have invested in the stock market, how would you possibly know that when you can retire? Because that also leads to like the third number, and I call it the fire number, financial independence, retire early. number. So essentially, for most people, is your annual expenses divided by 4%, and 4% is typically an average amount of the money that you can safely withdraw from your retirement account. Like while still like having a few more left, some money left to grow as well.
So know your fire number, and know that, and that's a part of the fire movement, correct? Am I spot
Exactly.
am I way off there? So
Yes.
powerful there. So know your fire number. So I'm gonna read this off for our audio listeners who are not watching the incredible Pav today on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. The fire the fire movement stands for financial independence, retire early, just like Miss Pav said. It's a lifestyle and financial strategy where people aim to save and invest aggressively, often 50 to 70% of their income, to build enough wealth to retire decades earlier than the traditional age. So the fire movement is powerful, powerful, powerful. So thank you for speaking on that, Miss Pav. And you teach your students this? You teach your students
Yes.
these core fundamental steps to know these important
Exactly.
numbers.
Yeah, and when since we talk about fire, can I please talk a little bit about like what people kind of like the misconception when people think about fire, as in that, oh, if you want to retire early, financial freedom means that you have to have millions of dollars in the bank, like, which is so not true.
I
And
don't
I
need
am a
millions of
living proof.
dollars. I,
What's
I
that?
I don't need millions of dollars, Pav. I think I
No,
need
you
millions.
don't. You
At least
don't.
at least 1 million. Can I have 1 million?
Maybe at least a million these days with the inflation, go through the roof. You definitely, yeah,
Thank
should
you.
have some. But what I tell people though is that there are actually four different types of fire. So one is what we call lean fire. So lean fire is minimalistic lifestyle, ultra low spending. As in, like typically when I think an average retirement, how do I say, like spending per month, that typically people retire on, they need about like $50,000 a year to be able to comfortably retire and cover like all the healthcare expenses and so on and so forth. So like lean fire could be go like even below that $50,000 range.
Okay.
And that is possible with what we talk about, like geo arbitrage, for example. And then the second one is fat fire. So fat fire is totally the opposite to the lean fire. So it means that you still like maintain the higher spending, luxurious freedom. You want to travel the world. You have the money to do that. So that's fat fire. So you need to save up have the money invested a lot in the market in order to get to the fat fire status. And then the other two, which I think is really interesting, because that's also like what I am kind of like, I would say like my current model of fire is a hybrid of that. So like one is barista fire. Barista fire is quit the full-time grinds and still work part-time for benefits and income. And when I don't know who named barista fire, but you can actually think of it as Starbucks. Because what I learned was that Starbucks actually offer you health benefits even if you work part-time, and you
What?
have the full health benefit, which is like crazy. And I've seen a few people actually have been doing that successfully. They keep their the Starbucks job, and then travel or pursue their passion project while still having some money saved up to be able to like retire early from there.
So that's
um
so that's powerful. So they have benefits, they have medical, dental, all the things. They're working, but they're living on maybe a lean fire diet where they have less than the 50K, but they don't need a big income because their lifestyle allows it and their expenses are low. So it's a
exactly.
so they can keep the barista job, make a little change here and there, right? The hybrid fire, and still travel the world and live a luxurious lifestyle. And is that what I'm picking up there, Miss Pav? Am I-
Um, Potentially, luxurious, I think is subjective, right?
That's fair. That's
But
good.
yeah, still be able to like live a good good quality of life. And the last one is cost fire. So cost fire is you have enough money invested in the market that you only need to cover just your living expenses until retirement. So like for me, for example, I would say I am in between like coast fire and lean fire, as in like I already have money saved or invested enough in the market that I can retire, right? But like in order for me to retire, I can't just do like fat fire, for example, as in like splurge on, I don't know, like 10 Chanel bags, then I go bankrupt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
So you invest your money and it's earning you money while you're still either doing the lean fire, which is the barista job with benefits, or traveling the world and budgeting and maximizing maximizing your value while keeping your expenses low. Because
Exactly.
you left New York, you left New Jersey, and you went to some place that had a lower cost of living, and so you're virtually able to live off of very little because you don't need a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. So like in my case, I moved away from New York, New Jersey area and moved to Minnesota, which the cost of living, I'm telling you, is significantly lower, especially
Really,
when it comes to like housing. Yeah.
really. Miss Pav on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show, spilling the tea. We gotta go to one quick commercial break. Speaking of fat fire, we gotta pay our fat sponsors, right? And we got bills to pay. So you guys don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Baby Gear Services DMV specializes in high-quality baby gear rentals in the Maryland and DC metro area. We have a wide range of baby gear items for rent, including wooden cribs, car seats, high chairs, and more. We also offer seasonal specials and free delivery. Our prices are very versatile to cover every budget. Wooden cribs start at $17 a day, high chairs and even car seats start at $5 a day. Check out our website, www.bgsdmv.com.
Hey guys, this is your boy Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show, and we are here in Patrick Henry Mall, Newport News, Virginia. We're actually here for something unique just inside. Something new, brand new that we want to explore together. You guys ready? All right, here we go. Hey, boss. Heard you are an athlete, man. See you at the mall every day. We are at Patrick Henry Mall, living up, and we are talking about CBD. But first off, the normal thing that we all deal with is joint pain, back pain, suffer from everything.
Neck pain too.
Neck pain? You got some neck pain?
All the time, man. I'm getting up in age, you know what I'm saying? We're not young no more.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you. Bruh, CBD helps with that exact same thing. Neck pain, back pain, joint pain, all the pains, everywhere pain, right? And so that's what CBD does. That's what we're here to help you and me do. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
All right.
CBD is one of the most powerful cannabinoids because all it's focused on is the health and wellness. We're talking helping people with anxiety, depression, insomnia, sleep deprivation, all provided. CBD works with the natural mechanics of your body without the crazy side effects of Western medicine. So these products are here to actually align your body and get it back right so we can actually have a better quality of life. And that's what CBD does. We are back for the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And we have the incredible, amazing Miss Pav here on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show, spilling the tea and giving insight and wisdom to her life experiences where she left her $300,000 a year job and turned it around and is now living a fantastic life. And she's sharing nuggets on the fire movement with a hybrid model of the lean, with the fat fire, lean fire, or a hybrid of the barista fire. And then they have coast fire. She talked about going through divorce and how she learned some significant things that she missed. If you missed anything, all the nuggets, that Miss Pav has shared early on this episode. Go back, scroll back, and check her out. She's absolutely phenomenal. We are on iHeartRadio, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Ghana, Facebook business page, LinkedIn, and anywhere you get your podcast. We are even on Audible, y'all. But Miss Pav here spilling the tea. Miss Pav, I just want to call a spade here. Your TikTok is popping. You look like you are living your best life, girl. I love this. I love it. Look at her. Look at her having the
This is Pav,
absolute
43
time
years
of
old.
her life. I love this for you. Miss Pav, how is this? Looks incredible. It doesn't look like lean fire at all. Matcha, there's the matcha, y'all. Miss Pav, explain to us, how is it you are able to do all these incredible things in with what you teach and what you coach? Don't you? And again, this does not look like lean fire, y'all. This looks incredible. This looks like the life most of us dream of, Miss Pav. What's your secret? What is your favorite place to visit?
You saw that I was crying.
Yeah.
So the secret was like when you suffer, right? Like just with anything in life, once you suffer, you tend to cherish the moments that all these incredible moments. So that's number one. Just like really grateful for what you have. But let me just be clear, Micah. So I didn't take the leap from corporate to entrepreneurship or to like this supposed like lean coast fire overnight. I've spent years building my financial cushion and downsizing my life. We talked about that earlier, and then investing, diversifying my income, and like mentally really preparing for this transition. So it's not something rash that like, oh, when you look at at the video, it's like, oh my god, maybe this lady is having a midlife crisis. I've gone through that. The midlife crisis part, I would say, like, after my divorce. But it takes like years, and I would say like probably 1,000+ hours of all the planning, and then try and fail so many different side hustles to like really find what I would say is my God driven purpose, which is teaching people how to layout proof their life. And when I think about the whole like layout proofing, it's not just about financial security, but it's about like being able to like reclaiming your time, your energy, and your sense of self. And I think that's the most important thing. So a lot of preparation. This is like what I'm teaching people, that you can't just wait for like layoffs or life to happen to you. You need to prepare now. And I feel that like it's such a gap in the market these days, that like, Marcus, I don't know if you would agree or disagree, but like there are so many different resources on, okay, like what happened or what to do after you quit your job or after you got laid off. There's like so many resources, but there's really not much, or not many people talking about how to quit your job strategically, or how to make sure that you layoff proof your life, so that like if when the layoff hit you, which is not a matter of if these days, it's a matter of when, you are not just going blindsided, which is like really sad that I've seen a lot of professionals these days that feel blindsided by layoffs.
That's true. And I don't disagree with you. It is a plan. It's a plan, right? All of this and working with you and learning from you, you give people the plan and you give people the nuggets to take the actionable steps so they can live a quality life, right? Because I agree with you. I think what you and I talked about a little bit backstage is, I think, and some of the podcast, I think people have been taught that in order for me to live this way, I have to work for someone else, or I have to do this thing and check. I have all this debt. I have all the cars. Look at me. But I think, and you might agree with me. I think I've met a lot of people with money, just like you said, lifestyle inflation. They have a lot of money, but they're what they do, like they have the big fancy TV, but they hardly ever get to watch the TV, right? Because they're working to pay for the TV. They're
Yeah.
working to pay for the yacht. They're working to pay for the boat, to pay for these things, but they don't actually get to enjoy it. I remember I met one real estate broker. He owned his own agency. He had a team, and he would just lend his teammates, like his top sellers, he would lend them his yacht. Just go take my yacht out because I'm stuck at work. And
Wow.
and that's what has been sold to us as the lifestyle. And it's so false. And so it's so false. And I
And
think
you are so true. You're so true. Marcus.
it's really something. And I think you are more of what people need to hear. That you don't have to do that thing. You don't have to do this thing. You have to, it's only two things to finances, I have found. Increase your income or your resources, right? Increase your
Mhm.
investments, your portfolio, and decrease expenses. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all finance is. Increase your income, decrease expenses. Great if you can do both at the same time, right? From living on $10,000 a month to $3,000 a month. That's one. But investing in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate, Airbnb, arbitrage, whatever it is. I never shame anyone. When I hear a friend that tells me, Marcus, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I got this expensive mortgage. I don't know how I'm gonna make the next mortgage payment. I tell them, and I literally told a friend this. I said, sell the house, move back in with mom and dad. Move back in with mom and dad, sell the house, get and reset. And she's like, I can't do that. I can't do it. I said, why? Why not? There's no shame in it. It's that lie we've been sold over and over again. I got to have this house. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's killing you. It's drowning you, and you're not happy. You're
Totally.
not happy. So I'm with you. What do you think? I wanna brainstorm with you a little bit. What do you think the future is going to look like? What do you think the workforce is going to look like? We've all heard the Great Resignation, right? I've seen it on CNBC, Fox News, all the big platforms are talking about, oh, everybody's quiet quitting. Millennials are not working. They're lazy. They're untrained. They're unskilled. BS. What do you think the future will look like for millennials and Gen Zs? And I don't believe that. Like, I don't believe it's the tragedy that corporate America will make you believe. What do you think it'll be?
That's a great question, Marcus. And okay, before I answer, I'd like to ask you this though.
Okay.
How
Okay.
about UBI?
Who? Wait, what? Is that what? UBI?
Universal Basic Income.
Okay.
Would you
Okay.
prefer UBI? If you could choose, would you prefer Universal Basic Income?
Ooh, that's a good question. I I would like it if they were required to take your course. I would like universal basic income if it came with the contingency that you have to get educated on financial literacy, and you're not just because it's going to cause the same thing, and it's going to cause the same thing. My cost of living is going to catch up to the amount of money I make, and now I'm running back to whoever's paying this universal income. I'm running back to the government. I'm running back to Pav. Pav, give me more money. I need more money, because they didn't have the financial literacy, which is what you teach, to manage it and invest it and really enjoy it. So that's my answer. That's
And yeah, that's like actually totally unrelated to my answer, but I love hearing people's opinion, because let me just tell you this. Like, for me, when I think about, and in the past, and actually, my mind is sway a little bit more towards universal basic income, because like we know that AI is inevitably, I mean, it's already here. It's just a matter of when AI is taking over our jobs, and obviously, like, it's happening. And people like, oh no, it's not gonna take over, like plumbing business, a plumber, electrician. Oh yeah, just wait until wait until that happens.
right.
So, but I think for the near term, though, So the great resignation was just the beginning, I think. Like what's next is I would call it the great recalibration.
Mm-hmm.
Recalibration. Yeah. So people are not just quitting that job, but they are redefining work entirely. And you've seen that like on all these different social media, they like people would be posting, I quit my job, no backup plan, and then I did XYZ after. So I think people, Gen Z, millennial, are no longer chasing titles or tenure. And as a matter of fact, Marcus, I've read this article somewhere the other day. They even go to the opposite of like climbing the corporate ladder, but now people are declimbing corporate ladder,
Mm-hmm.
as in like you don't want to climb up to have all these different fancy titles. You just want to like keep your income steady, the paycheck comes every 2 weeks, and then do things that bring you joy and not take on more responsibility, which I think is probably good for our mental health, but I don't know if that's going to be good for the bottom line of lots of businesses, because basically corporates thrive when when you have a workforce that is highly motivated. And this is like totally opposite. But anyway, so yeah, Gen Z millennials are not kind of like have this awakening that they're not like chasing titles or tenure anymore, but they want to have the freedom, to have the purpose and options, which is the core of layoff ready, to give you that options of freedom, right? And they've seen their parents work like 30 years. And I think this, you already touched on this earlier at the beginning on like, like does working the corporate for a long time and or the tenure actually like is it good or is it bad? So they've seen their parents work a job like 30 years, one company, and still get laid off. So the loyalty is being replaced with leverage these days. And the future of work will be, I think, three things. So one is modular. So modular is in people will piece together income from multiple sources. So like freelancing, side gigs, consulting, you talked about that before, even investing. And then the second one is mission aligned. So you're not just working for the money, but you're actually working for the meaning, for the purpose. And and that's kind of like what led me to start layoff ready too, because I feel that this is like my God's given purpose, that I really am so passionate about helping, teaching people financial literacy and really help them with financial preparedness. And then the third one is mobility first. So this is and we touched a little bit on remote work, right? But remote is not just a perk, but it is going to be a requirement, I think, going forward. Because, with how like the workforce kind of like, I would say, shrinking almost these days, is really hard to have like a group of talented people just be like all in one place at the same time all the time. Like that's not really possible or efficient for a corporate. So yeah, I think like this probably would be my three guess.
No, I appreciate that. Modular jobs. Again, great point. Modular jobs. Right, we're already seeing that people are having. I mean, it's not unheard of to see someone with the Uber and Lyft stickers on their vehicle. They're doing both, right, on top of their 9 to 5 job, or they DoorDash a little bit on the weekends. They Uber Eats on the holidays. They're doing all the things on the side. The editors to this podcast, they they're doing freelance work, right? They're doing freelance work and doing something they enjoy, and until maybe one day the freelance work matches or exceeds what they make at their full-time jobs. But we're seeing that today. And then mission alignment. You are reading my cheat sheet. You need to stop it, Pat. You're reading my cheat sheet. No, because mission alignment, if nobody hears anything, if you own a business, people want to know that what they're doing has a purpose. And I didn't discover this about myself until much later on. I realized that I am terrible. I've done sales, I've done door to door, I've done business to business, I've done insurance, car sales, the whole thing. I've done it all, right? And the jobs that I was terrible at, I didn't feel the mission. I didn't understand why I was doing this. I didn't have a sense of worth, and I didn't have a sense of pride, because the mission was just sell, sell, sell. Well, why am I selling? How does this help people? Why does this brand of car, why does this policy, the insurance policy or homeowners insurance policy help? Right. And I was terrible at it. And then when I started doing things that I enjoyed and going into businesses that I enjoyed and I had a mission, your team wants the same thing. So powerful. They need to understand the why. And if they can't understand the why, it's maybe not a good fit for them. But there needs to be a mission alignment. And so they can have full fulfillment out of what there is. And mobility first. You're so right. It's way beyond remote work. People, Grant Cardone talks about this. Grant Cardone talks about how we will become Europe. We will move back to renting, because the biggest mobility for an individual, even a high income earner, is his ability to move. In Asian culture, I read a book on this. I love this book. This is my favorite book on my shelf. In Asian culture, this is why you have Asians coming to the United States, and they do these overseas programs to go to different schools. The biggest lesson they teach their children is mobility. Go where you can thrive, because it may not be here. We get so stuck in, I need to stay here, I got a good job, and the kids are in school. No. You need to be mobile. You have to have roots, right? You have to have roots, just like Miss Pav has roots in Minnesota. But you need to be mobile. And you need to be able to shift when the market shifts and when the world shifts, because nothing stays the same. So huge, big brain, big thinking. I love it.
Totally. And Marcus, just to add to that though, that since you mentioned about the faith base, right? I wanted to add that when you move, when God nudges you, like doors swing open, just like what you said, that you have to go where the opportunities are. That's also like part of the sign that, God is telling you that, hey, it's time to move. Maybe the life that you're living might be misaligning and it's not serving your highest good. So, you will, like, once you are in that alignment, you will stop asking, hey, what is safe? Or you'll stop asking, what is my divine assignment? So for some people that a little bit a woo-woo like me, but you also learn that like for me, I learned the hard ways that, like, when God nudges me and I didn't listen, he will destroy the current path that you are in. Like, say for example, and by the way, he would do that not to bully you into your purpose, but to help you see more clearly of your true purpose, so that you can actually become aligned and live, that life that is in alignment. For me, like, for example, with my grandmother passing recently, and that was like what prompted me to finally pull the plug, to quit corporate, right? That was God showing me what truly matters, which is family. And then, with my divorce, same thing. God did not bless me in that divorce. So he caused God did not bless me with my marriage. With my marriage.
You're good.
So yeah, so he caused my my divorce to happen, because I at the time was like idolizing what marriage was about, which to me at the time was like money and status and having like security, and that's not what marriage is supposed to be. So that's one thing that I wanted to add to, like, when you are living and in alignment with your true purpose, that's when doors and opportunities will come to you tremendously.
Absolutely. Miss Pav, are you single?
Yes.
You are single. What would you do? What would you do differently, knowing what you know now about marriage? What would you do? Are you dating? Are you open for our listeners out there, are you bum bum bum?
um I would say I am open. I would never say no to opportunities. That is right. But I'm not actively looking. Like in the past, like I would say maybe a few years ago, if you were to ask me this same question, Marcus, I would say like, oh yes, Marcus, sign me up on Hinge. I don't know, Match.com, Bumble, every website possible. Like, please, I was on it,
Right.
and then but now that I have grown more spiritually, and I wanted to I wanted to find someone who is in alignment with me, not just like spiritually or where we are in life, because you never are gonna be like totally aligned, but somebody who I am compatible with, someone who that will complement my life and as well as me, right? So I would say like my kingdom spouse. If you're a Christian, you've heard of this word,
Yep.
someone that is God is giving to you so that you can actually reunite, not just for yourself but to actually enrich each other and also the world, to work on a mission to help others. So that is what I'm open to, and thank you for asking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's fair. That's fair. So she is, for our audience out there, she is single. If you had that question looming around in your head, and she's open. But she's what you say, you're not open unless it's a true connection. Is that what I heard? True connection. Spiritually supports the lifestyle. So they gotta be travelers. They gotta have their passport ready. They can't sit here and say, oh, I just want to stay home. That's not Pav. That's not working with Pav.
And I'm not a gold digger anymore. I have changed. I become my own rich man, so you're safe. No,
Absolutely.
no more sugar daddy, no trust fund, no need. We lay off proof our life.
Layoff proof your life. Miss Pav, if you could rewrite the rules of corporate America, what would the new system look like? Would it be universal income? Would it be more flexibility, the modular lifestyle, being able to have another job, or you got to only work for me, you can't work for nobody else? If you could rewrite the rule books on working, what would it look like?
Wow, Marcus, nobody has asked me this question before, and I have never thought about it. But let me think.
Feel
If I
through
could
that.
re-
Feel through. I
yeah,
want you to feel that because that's what you're doing now, I think, right?
yeah, exactly. I think you know so like in contrary to a lot of beliefs, or like when I told people that, hey, I just quit my job, the first response I would hear from like either like my coworkers or family friends, they're like, oh, what happened? And like the first thing was like, did something happen to you, as in like either I got laid off or I got fired? Or I'm like, hey, give your friend a little credit here.
Right.
um yeah, so I think, Marcus, you were right in a sense that like it is what I am doing today, as in I think I am so grateful for the companies, like all the companies that I've worked for. I think corporations have their own ups and also like the downside as well. However, I feel very fortunate that I have been treated very well, my throughout my 23 years career. And the way that I was able to build a majority of my wealth, I give the credit to corporate as well. However, if I could do something differently, is maybe like the opportunities to be a little bit more open in terms of like letting your workers have a life outside the 9 to 5, which is kind of like what layoff ready is all about, to like make sure that you have the skills that is transferable from corporate or from anywhere that are high value skills that you can transfer outside your corporate life, 9 to 5, that you can actually earn your income, so you won't be stuck with just one income stream. Because now that everybody knows that the news is out, it's not the news anymore, that layoffs are going to happen. It's going to happen more and more and more, and then eventually we will probably be ended up with UBI. So if you don't start now to start with a side hustle or investing or freelancing or turning your transferable skills into another stream of income, that's gonna it's gonna be a doom and gloom. I would say, future that we are heading towards. And one thing I wanted to say this, Marcus, is that when I've talked to a lot of my coworkers or my students, and there are highly educated people, undergraduate, graduate, even some are PhD, and then I asked them, hey, had you got laid off tomorrow, and maybe let me just ask you this, and actually you already done this, so I don't need to ask you, but you already
I
done
was
this.
ready. I was ready.
No, but okay, this was what I asked them. If you got laid off tomorrow and you have to make $1,000 within 7 days, what would you do?
I would go back to Pizza Hut. I would go back to Pizza Hut. Now I have savings. But I would go but I don't have 6 to 12 months of savings. I would go back and I had to make $1,000 really quickly in 7 days. Pizza Hut deliveries.
And that's awesome, Marcus. I mean, trust me, I walked my neighbor's dogs. That was
Really?
my part of my side hustle. Yeah. And surprisingly, it's pretty good money. But that was my whole point. I think because we've been trained in corporate to to work hard, not play harder, but work hard, work long hours, that you embody your identity as your title. And trust me, I've been there. I when I think the first week of after I quit my job, I almost had a separation anxiety in a way that
You did?
when people ask me, hey Pav, what do you do these days? What are you? And I'm I almost wanted to tell them hey, this is my title, and then this is what company I work for, and then I try in so many different ways. They, oh yeah, I just quit my job, but I used to be XYZ so and work at this big tech companies, because I was clinging on the title, my old identity. And a lot of people are actually struggling with that identity crisis, and it's crippling them from to have that confidence in earning income outside the corporation. Because let me just go back to when I asked my friends, my students, who are highly educated in really great corporate job, they're I don't know, I'm just waiting. One of them was just oh yeah, easy, I'm just waiting for my paycheck to come.
Wow.
But I don't need a second job, I already have good money. That was the answer. But
That's
if the layoff happened, and it can hit anyone, a lot of people think that they're gonna be invincible, right? That it's not gonna happen to them.
You're so
I
right.
mean, yeah, sorry, tough life, it is happening at some point. So I think what's so important these days is doesn't really matter what you do. It could just be like you said, work at Pizza Hut, Uber, or for me, walk dogs, something that give you the confidence to make money outside a corporate job. I think that is so important. And then from there, you can grow, you can shift, you can scale to something else even greater. But you have to start somewhere. Yeah, so that's something I want to leave to the audience, that you have to start somewhere. There's no job that is beneath you. There's no job that is beneath you.
So true. That's so true. Pav, thank you. You're describing something that I'm a veteran, so you're describing something that is unique to veterans. But now you're saying, and I'm seeing it, and I'm in agreement with you. It affects everybody. You were having anxiety trying to come up with an explanation of what you do, because so many of us connect who we are to what we do, and without the job, I don't, it almost is like I have lost myself. And you try to had a sense of I gotta fill this void, when in actuality I'm Marcus the dog walker, I'm Marcus the Pizza Hut delivery guy, and that is also okay. And what I had to learn, you're speaking to something, I had to learn all these things that I've done, whether it be corporate, high level, or dog walking, or whatever in between. It's what I did. It's not who I am. Who you are is who you want to be. So thank you, Pav, for all that. Pav, you are incredible. Thank you for sharing this stage with me. Thank you for giving back and sharing wisdom. How can people find you? How can people connect with you? How can people learn more and take your course?
Yes, you can reach out at pav at layoffready.com, or you can check out my website layoffready.com. And if you sign up, I have a free kind of like I call it emergency pre and post layoff or quit your job checklist. So in there, you can like make sure that you have a list to make sure that you can layoff proof your life and prepare, financially and mentally.
Absolutely. Connect, y'all. Get the link. It's in layoffready.com in the chat for our audio listeners. Thank you, Pav. I want to say this to you. Thank you for what you do, and never quit. We need you. The world needs you. You're changing
Thank you
lives.
so much, Marcus. And
Absolutely.
You too. We need you.
We got to let this incredible woman go. She has many more lives to change and many more classes to give. We are out of time. But connect. Like we end every show. Take care of your friends, take care of your family, and always take care of business. This is Marcus, your favorite gentleman, and the incredible Pav signing off. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.